This is a video explaining how to use Premiere from scratch as if you've never used a Mac before, and it's intended for part of our interview process. But I show things like this on our BTS channel just so people can see behind the scenes of what we do. And if you were doing a store team member interview process, day one is packing and picking and packing. And day two is this, where you'd come to the store and you would edit pretty much all day in order to see how you do on this. And it's not mainly that you're going to be an editor, but it's a great way to test if you're able to learn things quickly or you're able to make many decisions when you have to edit, make decisions, cut, and put together a story that's already kind of baked into the footage, but it still requires you not to have analysis paralysis. Now, let me show you our interview paper that I wrote up explaining kind of the core things that you would need when you are editing, or the text you put on the screen to edit the shorts, or Premiere for beginners. I wrote down some of the steps along here and we'll go through it. Now, the logistics, like I said, is the interviewee would be doing this at the store, and you get all day to work on it. And it's okay that the first edit takes you 2-ish hours, but the last one should only take you about 30 minutes. For context, I can do one of these in 11 minutes if I'm not trying to make a video on how to edit videos. So it's these are pretty simple, and I think you'll see why, which is why I think doing the first one with you is really important. The other part of the logistics is you are not supposed to just watch this. You're supposed to pause it and do it. So you pause it and do it, and you keep along, and you basically just copy everything I do, and then you should have all the tools you need to do the rest. And then whoever's overseeing that test for the day is going to give that person the final cuts of what I did when I edited them. And that way you can compare what I did versus what you did, because you will be making some creative decisions. And then you can see how I did it, and then you can compare how you did it. You'll write that down, and then you go on to the next one, and then the next one. And you're basically going to get better and better and better throughout the day because it's fairly repetitive. We try to keep it apples for apples for apples on each edit. The edit themselves, the max length is 58.9 seconds. If you dabble in the 59-second line, it is risking being more than a minute when you upload it, and therefore Instagram will clip off the end and it looks weird. It's a universal length for all platforms, even though some will take 3 minutes and some will take more or less, or TikTok's now, I think, 15. We just do everything 58 seconds maximum. It doesn't have to be that long. Cut it tight, no eternities. The definition of eternity is a 1/16 of a second of silence at the beginning or end of clips. Keep text and main focus area in the safe zones. You want to make sure that you're not putting it too high up and too far down or too far to the right where the hearts and the likes are. You want to make sure you actually, ironically, only get about a square, and it's not even in the center. Change what happens every 3 to 5 seconds. That doesn't mean you have to change clips, but maybe some new information like text, or you punch in or something. Something has to happen every 3 to 5 seconds or it gets boring. New material like a screenshot or a download, or you took another clip, or you downloaded an emoji or something, has to be added to the folder that you're working in. Don't leave it in the downloads or the screenshots or wherever. You have to have good folder hygiene, because if I want to open this up later and look at the timeline, it's going to ask me where that file is. Batch edit all the shorts in one timeline with gaps in between. It is easier for me to check if I can just open up one timeline and it's just back to back to back to back edits. Do not render it. I want to look at the actual Premiere file later. Like I said, I usually do 11 minutes, but 15 minutes is typically what they take. Your goal is to get to 30 minutes and have them 95% done. They need to be almost postable. The story is baked in. It's shot in order with the last try of what is being said, because I'll say I'll say the same thing over and over like that. It's the last time I say it 99.99% of the time. So just basically look for the last time I said the thing before I moved on to the next. Text. The words are telling a story separately. It is not a transcription of what we say. It supplements what we say. The text can reduce our short time by a lot, because then you don't have to show how many kilonewtons. You can just put it on the screen as text while it's happening. It depends how you want to tell the story. If you really want to emphasize how strong it was, you can put the text on the screen and show how strong it was, or the load cell itself. Only the first text has no swoosh animation, and this is built into the actual template because sometimes the first frame is not going to have all the words because they're in the middle of a swoosh, and so we want the words there that are telling the story. If that's what gets chosen as a thumbnail, because we don't get to choose thumbnails, it needs to look right. After that, then everything's swoosh. So the first text needs to be fit in the square with the face if the first scene has a person. So if my face is on camera and I'm like, how strong is this? You should be able to take a square, because that's what we use on our email newsletters, is we don't take the full 9x16s. And it has to be able to fit the eyes and the text. If you cut off the eyes or the text, it's unusable. So for the first part, that first thing or the story that you're trying to do that tells how strong is this, that needs to be able to fit in a square. Adjust the text length from the back so it doesn't mess up with the text swoosh. The text swoosh is baked into the beginning of the clip. I'll show you how to do that if you've never done this. The yellow words are this color here. You could copy and paste that if you ever had to redo that. I'll show you how to do that. Words are 99% all caps all the time. So kilonewtons, usually the K is small and the N is big, but everything's just all caps the way we have it. Most of what you're going to do in this interview is to not get fancy and to just copy the text to each section and then just change the words. So you won't even have to change that. Don't cover the most interesting thing or faces with words. So you don't want to put 27 kilonewtons right over somebody's face or the knot, because then you can't see the knot or the broken sample. And don't have words on screen for less than 2 seconds unless your artistic reasons, like your tongue-in-cheek joke, and if you see it, lucky you. But most of the time, you want something to be on the camera long enough for them to see. So if you're going to add text, you could have the text drag into the next thing if you need to. So it just stays there for a while. But you don't want to just flash it on there and not be able to be read. It's unpleasant to watch if you do that. Premiere for beginners. I will probably be adding to this by the time I'm done with this video. But we're going to do the first short together. That's what we're doing here. That's what this episode is going to be highlighted. It'll be hyperlinked. Open folder to shorts assets. So we're going to do this together. So in my thing here, I have, and this is likely going to be where your stuff is, I have short assets and your files. And right now I have it on the desktop because that's my cleanest folder that I have. And that's where probably you're going to be playing, because the person managing this test for you have already downloaded it. So short assets, that's what's the next step. Copy the template project, and we're going to paste it in the folder where your footage is. So if you don't know how to go up and down to these windows, if you've never used Mac, 3 fingers, up and down. Make sure you practice that. If you've never used a Mac, you're going to need this. Do that until you've got it. I do want to help people who are used to PCs learn how to use the Mac. There is no, if you look here, there is no mouse here and you move the thing. I've seen PC people do this and it's funny because it doesn't work. This doesn't do anything down here. The whole thing is a one-handed deal. You just push down and you push down and you'll get used to the mouse eventually. This is the project. If you click this, you can push down on the mouse pad, drag your finger over. It's intuitive if you know how to do it. That's the template folder. Command copy, Command C, go to the folder that you're going to be doing, and right mouse click is 2 fingers. You push down and it shows that, and paste. We're going to paste that there. And now that is the project folder that I'm going to be working in. You double click it and it's going to locate media. Well, it can't find it. So you go locate and you go to desktop, which should be right there, desktop, short assets, double click, and that you can see big red arrow. It's going to show that one right there. You click OK, and then the rest get selected because you just have these few things here that you need. Then we're going to start putting things on here. 3 fingers up, and you're going to select these 3 files. You'll see this preview here, me explaining something. The break test itself, me explaining something. The intro, the body, and the conclusion. These are pretty straightforward what you should see and what you'll need to be editing. So in order to do this, if you're not doing this up to this point, pause what you're doing and get to this point before we move on. Now, if you are here, you can select by just pushing down hard on this and dragging the mouse up. And now you've selected these and you drag them into here. The other option, do that. That's what I do. Drag them into there. And now this is your working folder. Now, you're going to drag this over to here. This is the first one, second one, third one. You're going to drag it in, and that's where that sits. And just to show you how I do this, the last one, you don't have to always do this, but I'm going to show you what happens if you drag this. It's got a little, it's sticky. It'll stick right to the end there. As long as you haven't pushed S, which gets rid of that magnet. You can see if I push S here, S gets rid of the magnet, and then you lose it, and then it doesn't line up, and you don't know why for about 3 months, and it drives you nuts, making this harder for yourself. Ask me how I know. Now, let's say you want to put this clip in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it to where I want. I want it right there in the middle. I want to hold down Command, and when I hold down Command, you can see that those arrows come up. And then I keep holding Command, and I let go of the mouse, and it pushes everything over. Command Z undoes it. And if I don't do that, it just completely wrote over what was there. Command Z, drag it back over, hold down Command, and it bumps it over. So now these words are in my way. Now you see me doing this. That it's literally just me opening up my fingers. So I'm going to highlight those. And I'm going to drag them out of the way for now because I don't want text on the screen while I'm editing. You want to make sure like the actual video is good before you try to put things on top of it. So now I want to cut it. Whether or not this is the right clip, I know I don't need any of this, right? I'm not saying anything. What I'm looking at is this audio file right here. You can see this audio is something. This might be the second time I said it. It might be new words. I don't know. So you can use the mouse. You can use the arrows left and right. Right there is pretty good. If you want to zoom in, you can see that would be, if you're over here, that's an eternity. About right there. And in order to cut, there's a couple ways to do this. I'm going to go over the 3 ways right now. Command K is one way. In order to get rid of this, if you hit delete, you have this gap. It's not the end of the world. If you right mouse click, the 2 fingers push down, ripple delete. And that is one way of doing that. Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. If I want to do it again, I like that spot right there. If you just push Q, oops, there you go. If you just push Q, it does all those steps in one. So you'll cut it all over at once. Now, if I push Q right here, it just deleted that whole thing there. So you don't overuse Q. One, Command K. Then you use Q and it sucks it up to right there. So Command K, Q, and delete are going to be things that you use a lot. If this is if this has a gap right here, then ripple delete is how you would fill it. Now, in order to move that over, if I just dragged it over, I would be writing over this part right here. I just overwrite that. So I don't want to do that. I'm going to hit A. A did that thing right there. A is for all, moves all of it over. And V, changed it to that. And V gives me access to just my arrow again. Now notice everything's highlighted. So I click off, click on the thing I want to move, and I can move that left and right. Let's see what it sounds like now.
How strong is one strand of this core? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 strands in this core. And if we take just one...
So I get stuck.
How about we just take the whole core out? How about we just take one of these strands and tie it in a figure 8 and see how strong it is?
Obviously, this is boring.
And see how strong that is.
There we go. So you got a little wiggle room. You got to do some creative stuff. So obviously, that's the end of it. And you can see all this dead space. I don't do anything. Let's see what this says.
A lot easier tying a figure 8 in a single strand.
You could keep that if you wanted. It could be funny. Depends if you want to break the fourth wall, they call it. So right there, because I have this right here, I'm going to hit Q, sucks it up to that line. I might leave it.
Single strand.
Command K. So that is a chunk that I'm going to keep. This is obviously nothing. And I'm about to say something here because I only look at the audio files. Now, if you want to see the audio files big, you just grab this and you drag that. I like to have it big enough to where I still have some space under here in case I have a second audio file. Zoom in, 1, 2, 1, there we go. And Q.
Let's see how strong this is.
That's probably better. And then W goes the other way, Q and W. W goes to the right. So now you can see how break tests work. You go, snap. Okay, so typically I'll leave it all in there, get it started. So I queued that, go all the way to there.
Oh, that was loud.
Okay, now that's what we call a reaction. You cannot see my lips moving.
Oh, that was loud.
This is usually I'm already mixing and combining, which is how I do this more fast, but we'll just keep going. Q.
I think that's good.
W. Obviously, that's the only clip there. About right there, maybe one arrow left. Q.
So this rope gets 14 kilonewtons, which I'm getting 4 kilonewtons when I test the sheath and about 10 when I just do the core. So it makes sense if there's 11 strands that I'm getting about 1 kilonewton per strand.
Wow, I said it right the first time. Okay, there's nothing here. You're just cutting out the meat. Take some arrows.
Free cores come with every sheath you buy at hownottto.com.
I don't know.
So stupid.
That might be the ending. Let's see if I say it different.
Maybe use that, I don't know. Get your core.
So I'll leave notes like this, right?
Maybe use that, I don't know.
So
get your cores and sheath at. Get your cores and sheath at hownottto.com.
So do we like this? Did it turn out?
Free cores come with every sheath you buy at hownottto.com. So stupid.
I like it. I like how it turned out. I couldn't tell when I filmed it if it was going to turn out. So I said this part, which is cleaner.
Get your cores and sheath at hownottto.com.
Yeah, not as funny. And this is where I'm going to use, instead of, you could just delete. It is the end clip. Command Z. If you had something, let's say I had something on this side. Let's say I optioned. I'll show you how I did that in a minute. If I want this clip and this clip to touch when I'm done, you hold Option Delete, and it puts those other two clips together. So Command Z, Command Z. Now, to copy something, you hold down Option and drag this. And now I have a copy of that clip. Hold down Option, drag it. If I don't hold down Option, it just moves it. Command Z, Command Z. Okay, so now we have the meat that we're going to be able to work with. And the idea is that we want to push it together. If you can have the reaction at the same time that the break test is happening, then it makes it faster. But before we decide that, we want to decide if we're going to show the break test during, let's see how strong this is. Okay. You'll notice all the shorts sound the same after a while.
How strong is one strand of this core?
You don't want to like shock the audience when they first watch it. If I'm going to count it, you see this gap right here. Probably want to get rid of that. So Q. So we're just cutting right now.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 strands in this core. And if we take just one,
it didn't go well.
Strands in this core.
So we could Command K that.
How about we just take the whole core out? How about we just take one of these strands, 7 strands in this core. How about we just take the whole?
Let's Let's leave the
And
struggle.
if we take just one,
because I make a funny face, you can leave the face. Usually you don't leave dead space here, but that's where we're going to use text messages or text on screen to fix that.
how about we just take the whole core out? How about we just take one of these strands and tie it in a figure 8 and see how strong, and tie it in a figure 8.
Well, obviously we don't want to say this twice, so we're going to go to here.
How about we just take one?
Don't need this. This is a major eternity. This is just dead space, right?
And see how strong that is. A lot easier tying a figure 8 in a single strand. Let's see how strong this is. And see how figure 8 and see how strong that is.
Yeah, I don't.
How strong this is.
Yeah, let's just. You can just see like that just doesn't need to be there. Option delete, and it sandwiched those two things together. You start above, and you select whatever you're trying to do, and you do option delete. You could just do that to one, or you can just click it direct. But if you're trying to do two cells, you start above and you drag.
Wrong that is. And see how strong, and tie it in a figure 8 and see how strong that is.
Sometimes I show the test while I say, let's see how strong that is, but I really think that's interesting to see a figure 8 in a single strand, and you don't want to lose that because this clip's going to be fast. Now, this will be fun. Command K right before that break test, not right on top of it, right before it. Command K. Take R. You can see R is that rate stretch here. And you're probably going to, you can see the duration as you shrink it. I'm going to do about 120 on the right. You can see the numbers move, 119, 120. And that shrinks it up. To go back to my mouse, I'm going to click V, right mouse click, ripple delete. Zoom in. Let's see how it looks. Ooh, that sounds pretty bad. So right mouse click. This is a menu. You could just up and down on the mouse. To scroll is 2 fingers. And you're going to go to speed and duration in the middle. And if you're under 1000%, you can click maintain audio pitch. If you're not, you can't. And then it maintains the audio pitch. So you just sped up that whole experience for somebody without taking away like what we did to do it, right? Like if you've never seen the channel before, you want people to see that we're pulling it for a little while. You don't want to obviously not have that clip. You just don't want it to be that long.
Oh, that was loud.
So this is where the reaction starts. I'm going to go Command K, and it's the next one you're learning, Command L, link, or in this case, unlink. And you can see that they are selected differently versus this one, it selects both at the same time. So now I can take this audio, drag it down, drag it to the left, and hit option delete to shrink that up.
Oh, that was loud.
You see how like you still got the reaction?
Loud. I think that's good. So this rope gets 14.
So I think that's good is kind of missing some context. I could definitely go without it and put 1.17 kilonewtons right here. If it's easier for you to write a little note on some paper, that's fine. T is text, 1.17 kilonewtons. I could just write that for now if I want to that, you know, just for that to live there. Just obnoxiously put it there. That is not the text we use. That's not how we do it. It's just if I delete this, I'm going to hit option delete.
So this rope gets 14 kilonewtons, which I'm getting 4 kilonewtons when I test the sheath and about 10 when I just do the core. So it makes sense if there's 11 strands that I'm getting about 1 kilonewton per strand.
Ooh, that's a lot of talking. You got to do something. You got to do something to make that palatable to listen to. We show don't tell. So I got to figure out how to make that not suck. Probably showing the core breaking might be ideal, or the sheath.
Free cores come with every sheath you buy at hownottto.com. So stupid. Get your cores and sheath at hownottto.
Delete. Okay. So we pretty much got it. That would be what I would call short. Now, what we need to do is make this a little punchy. It doesn't need text yet. And this needs something. I got to go see if I can find a clip for that. So Command save. Well, save works. Technically, save as. Let's just do good hygiene. 5309. 5309. Okay. 5309. And it's in the correct folder. 5309 folder. Okay. So we are checking our work now. You can see we're about 40 seconds in. And if this is all on the same timeline, because you're going to do the next one right here, and then the next one right here, the best way to check that is to do I and O for in and out. I at the beginning, zoom in here, and zoom in there, right to the very end. And you're looking at about 41 seconds is what that says. So you can right mouse click where it says, yeah, that red little bracket is, right mouse click, clear in and out if you don't want it anymore. Or Command Z will do it. So save often. Let's see here. And this is where we just go back and forth, watching it over and over and over.
How strong is one strand of this core? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 strands in this core.
Well, one option to speed that up is
there are 1, 2
right there.
Strands in this core. Strands, 11 strands, 11.
By the way, I'm using spacebar if you haven't caught on by now.
Strands.
Just to hit play.
11 strands.
All right.
11 strands in this core.
This, if I hit R and I squish it over pretty hard to about 30 seconds, you can see there on the right-hand corner, V, right mouse, delete, right mouse, slide it up, speed and duration, maintain audio pitch.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 strands.
Very, very watchable. You didn't jerk the audience around, but you didn't drag them through the mud.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 strands in this core. And if we take just one,
you could cut off there and right there. Now this is where you can punch in. So if you double click this, you can see what's selected. And if you only have one layer here, it's pretty easy. And you can zoom in and out with your fingers going like this. So we're going to punch in and drag it around so the face is, so the reaction is caught.
Just one. How about we just take the whole core out? How about we just take one of these strands and tie it in a figure 8 and see how strong that is?
That could easily be, it's already highlighted. I would say one eyeball is fine. Then the strand there, as long as I don't move it around too much.
And see how strong that is.
Oh, that was loud.
So this rope gets 14 kilonewtons, which I'm getting 4 kilonewtons when I test the sheath in a
If I don't have other clips to do that with, in this case, you wouldn't have that. I don't know when I tested it otherwise. And obviously, none of the clips that I have that content. And you don't have to go search my library for that. That's not practical.
About 10 when I just do the core. So it makes sense if there's 11 strands that I'm getting about 1 kilonewton per strand.
That's just going to require a lot of text to do the heavy lifting while I explain it. And if there's a puzzle or a mental puzzle or math going on, that you're keeping somebody engaged. So that's fine. So now it's time. I would say that looks good. And we are at 40 seconds, so we're under the minute and we're all good. Now it's worth bringing this over. I'm going to drag this first one over. That's the first clip. This is my text. And if you look at the first part, the words are solid. If you look at this first one, you can see that these words are swooshing. And so you don't want to use the swoosh at the first text. You want to use the first text as the first text. That's why it's nice using the template. So I'm just going to drag that to the very beginning, and we're going to use it first. And then you mess it with it from the back side, because the swoosh, even though this one doesn't have it, it's good hygiene to always do this, is don't mess with the front. That's where the animations are built in.
How strong is one strand of this core?
So this is, don't get fancy, but keep it concise, right? Somewhere between concise and helpful. So how strong is, and then the highlighted thing you want people to see, one strand. And because I have enough horizontal to work with, I'm going to put 3 question marks, and I'm going to stop it at the end of this clip.
How strong is one strand of this core?
And because I flick it, even if the audio is off for the audience, you know what it's about. You instantly know in, 3 seconds? You know what this video is about. And then we just basically deliver for the rest of it. Zooming out, I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to drag it over. And what I like to do is have it up, down, up, down, up, down on layer, this layer, this layer, this layer, this layer. I guess we could even bring this. Yeah. There's no other video clips here. So we could drag that one down and drag this one down. That's pretty easy to mess with layers. But it helps you like drag it over when it was like super shrinked up like this and not worry about it. And then here you just drag it over to line up. And then you can see how the words swoosh. By the way, how strong is one strand? That would be the clip. So if I was to do Command-Shift-4, can I take above the eyes and do this right here? And you can see it says 19, on bottom right-hand corner of that, 194, 194. That's a square. That is escape, Command-Shift-4, maybe at the top of the hat. Basically, that's a square, and that would be how the thumbnail could look if we're putting in the newsletter. So that passes that test, escape. That is how you do that. Make sure you are fully caught up and have done every cut just like I've done it before you try to start texting this with me.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11
So we're going to not take away from the counting.
core. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
You can tell if with the audio off that I am counting them. And then you could just put, there are 11 strands. Now, before you do this, I like to do this. Hold down Option, drag it over. And I like to drag it down or up. So it's very separated, very easy to see. And I just go up, down, because I want to make sure that I don't screw up my yellow. And I don't want to screw up my swoosh, and I don't want to screw up any of this as I start typing over this one. So I double click that. There are 11 strands. Delete, double click, delete, delete. Okay. And then I can hit enter on 11.
11.
So this is bad. You don't want to cover up the thing. You want to put it right there. Now, what is the safe zone, you ask? This is when it matters. So this is where I'd probably put on version 6 or level 6, way up here. And if I shrink this up, I can drag this over. And that's the safe zone template. Now, that's obnoxious to work with. And what you could do is you could drag this up and drag that up. And so this whole layer can go right there. And we want to make this layer, bigger so it matches. So if I double click it, you'll notice this got highlighted, not this. If you don't want that to happen, you can hit lock, and then you could double click it again, and then the correct one got selected. And then when you zoom in and out, then you've got the right layer. I'm going to unlock that one, and now I'm back in business. So you can see that as long as you're here and you're not putting it down here and you're not putting it to the right, I don't even use this anymore because I know where this just keep it away from the top and bottom. But if you're curious, if you're close enough if you really want to move it down so it's not covering your rope, then you want to have this on here. And the eyeball hides it. So you can hide it and it doesn't mess with anything. So
11 strands in this core.
now if you want to cut something, this is where you like really can start screwing stuff up. So if you're like this and you hit Command K, I think cut this one, Command Z. If you want to cut all of them, Command K, but then you just cut your safe zone in half, and I don't like that. Command Z. So that's why doing this in the right order prevents you from having to like manage this stuff and having to drag this over. Whoops. See, two things were selected. One thing is selected. Drag it over. And then you can like cut this or cut this twice, Option delete and move it over. Like that's how you deal with details after you've looked at it a whole bunch, texting it. But you got to either lock it, you got to move it. So try to have the edit completely done well before you start putting text on the screen.
In this core. And if we take just one.
So then we're going to take this again, drag it over here, drag it down so it's available.
And if we take just one.
So let's take just one.
And if we take just one.
And you definitely don't want it over the WTF face.
How about we just take the whole core out? How about we just take one of these strands? How about we just take the
This would be too short.
Whole core out. How about
because you understand what's going on without words. You don't have to explain anything. Oh, we already did that. Take this guy, put this over here to that clip. Option, get ready to use it again over here. Don't use it up.
How about we just take one of these strands and tie it.
So this, I don't need to have a cut. I just line this left thing up here in the middle, and then I can start typing. Let's tie a figure 8. You don't even need to say in it, obviously. So.
And tie it in a figure 8 and see how strong that.
And that's where the infamous be red arrow. It's a red arrow with a bold outline.
See how.
So the thing stops moving around there. So I can drag usually from the back, even though it doesn't matter on the arrow. It's just good practice. So I want it to pop up there. You see the text box right here is, you can see the text on as my mouse. I don't want that. If I hit V, it turns back into an arrow. Double click, the arrow is selected. If it's not, you have to start locking things and keep clicking things. Right there in the corner, it goes turnable. Whoops. See what I grabbed? Safe zone. I grabbed the freaking safe zone. Command Z, lock that sucker. Double click, twist. There we go. Click and turn. And you're going to go in the middle of the red and you're going to shrink it. Because it'd be really weird if it's on my face funny. Turn that. Let's see.
Strong that is. See how strong.
And that's where it's like, okay, nothing changes. Except now there's an arrow. And then you could go about halfway before you actually put the number, which is 1.17 because of our note there. I'm going to option, slide that over. Click out of that. I really want the text. There we go. And I'm going to do white. I could pick white or yellow because I'm not going to have both in this case, 1.17 kilonewtons. And delete the rest. And this is why we copy it first. This 1.17 can go away. This 1.17 can get dropped down. And it's going to show up so that so people can see like what's going on before they have to look at a number. And then something changes, which is, boom, a number. And the reaction's like kind of right away. And notice this is in the safe zone if I really wanted to lock like dead smack in the safe zone. And it doesn't cover up what I'm trying to show you.
Ooh, that was.
Now, the ooh, this is loud is a little bit too much, so I'm going to drag that down a little bit.
Ooh, that was loud.
So this rope gets
Usually, I'll bring that down a little and this down a little.
Oh, that was loud.
So this rope gets 14 kilonewtons, which
So this is where we're going to have back-to-back text. So right at the beginning, we'll have some. We'll have some probably right up in here, and we'll have something right about here.
this rope gets 14 kilonewtons.
Gets, and then I use the squiggly line, tilde, 14 kilonewtons. I mean, that is a good fact to have.
So this rope gets 14 kilonewtons, which I'm getting 4.
Just right there is fine. From the back side, I'm adjusting it from the back side.
4 kilonewtons, which I'm getting 4 kilonewtons.
Breaks at squiggly 4 kilonewtons. I didn't grab the yellow in that case. I don't have to have the yellow. It's fine.
Which I'm getting 4 kilonewtons when I test the sheath in about.
Oop, and about. Use the mouse or the arrows here. Sorry, the arrows. And then we're going to drag this over.
About 10 when I just do the core.
All 11 cores tested together. Ooh, it's a lot of words, but there's nothing else going on, so people can handle it. Equals the approximately 10 kilonewtons, which is interesting because each one gets more than one.
Ethan, about 10 when I.
So if I don't like the way that text is all smashed together, if you take this edge, you could probably go like that. Yeah, I'll leave it alone. What I don't like is that equal sign shouldn't be there. It should be with the 10, right? All 11 cores tested together equals 10. That's a good explanation.
4 kilonewtons when I test the sheath and about 10 when I just do the core. So it makes sense if there's.
Oh, I forgot to copy.
11
Oh, well, I still have my white and my yellow.
So it makes sense if there's 11 strands that I'm getting about 1 kilonewton.
So each core strand equals 1 kilonewton. Now, because that equals 1 kilonewton, the format's so similar, you actually want to have some separation between the words.
The core. So it makes sense if there's 11 strands that I'm getting about 1 kilonewton per strand. Free cores come.
And I'm going to drag it all the way to the end there.
Do the core.
So going from words to no words is a change.
So it makes sense if there's 11.
Going from no words to words is a change.
11 strands that I'm getting about 1 kilonewton per strand. Free.
And then this is where you pull over the ending. You drag it over. And it's okay if it hangs over the end a little bit because the way we render it, you put it right towards the end because that's the block. Usually it's only the last 3 or 4 seconds. Usually it's never really much longer than I have here. Now what I don't like is how high it is. It's up at my throat. So I click the graphic. It looks, there we go. So I'm going to pull these words down. If it selected the other thing, I would have just locked it. But I'd say that's fine there because I'm going to actually add words. So these words here, I'm going to hold Option and drag up to the top here. And I'm going to drag it from the backside over to be the same length. And
3 cores.
I have to somehow say that joke. Ooh. That's a long joke in words.
Strand. Free cores come with every sheath you buy it.
So that's where those words are separate from the hownottoo.com, which is going to make it hard to start clicking specific things. So I select this. I'm going to just lock the shit out of all of this. So when I double click that, the actual logo pops up. And in this case, I'm going to put it right in the middle, lock eyeballs, still in the safe zone. This bleeds a little, but you're at the end. I don't care. It's not essential. It's jokes. So lock. We want eyeballs, lock, unlock, unlock. That's a lot of words. I might separate it so it's more readable. And what I could do is
per strand. Free cores come with every sheath you buy at hownottto.com.
see how that looks better than just having this?
Free cores come with every sheath you buy at
Because something else happens. The more change you can make, the better.
per strand. Free cores come with every sheath you buy at hownottto.com. So stupid.
And you just let it hang. And what you could do is, I don't know. You could actually, for artistic reasons, leave that going a little bit longer. Now, when we do render, we would hit O right about here. If you see the notes that we never hit O at the very end. Otherwise, you get like a black frame, which is horrible when it's just horrible. Because if I do actually put this at the very end right there and you hit O, you get these weird black frames. And so it looks super stupid when it cycles through. And if this is like way off to the right further, if I had this whole thing selected, which would just be like that, copy, paste, and like this is a whole nother short that you're editing, and you put the I right here, right at the beginning, it actually creates a black frame when you render it. It takes a while to figure that shit out if you don't know it. And then, so we actually go in one frame at the beginning, and then same on the end. And that's where that principle comes from. So your next edit is you'd be dropping footage also off to here. So you wouldn't actually have to re-find all of these assets. This stays open. So I'm going to hit delete on, no, hold on. I really want that to go away. Okay. Right mouse click, clear in and out. So now we have a finished product. We're going to start watching it start to finish, but first I'm going to hit Command Save. And before I start the next one, I would be hitting File, Save As, but in the folder for the next one. And so each one will just have one more video in it as you go. So the last folder will have all your edits. So let's watch it from the beginning.
How strong is one strand of this core? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 strands in this core. And if we take just one, how about we just take the whole core out? How about we just take one of these strands and tie it in a figure 8?
See how much text we did not have there? That's okay.
See how strong that is.
Oh, that was loud.
So this rope gets 14 kilonewtons.
Something I don't like is how small this is. Right here off to the right. Makes it bigger. And it's still out of the way. If you zoom up, you'll see where the fill color is. And you see this thing here. And if you swoosh up, and if you go to the instructions, and you find our color, copy, that is how you change the color. In case, like, I don't know, worst case scenario. But that's where the color is. And all caps versus this, versus all caps. Centered, I always keep centered. And then size. That's really the only things I touch here. But you don't want to touch the size unless you've already copied it over. Otherwise, you start to ruin the other ones.
That is.
Oh, that was loud.
So this rope gets 14 kilonewtons, which I'm getting 4 kilonewtons when I test the sheath and about 10 when I just do the core. So it makes sense if there's 11 strands that I'm getting about 1 kilonewton per strand. Free cores come with every sheath you buy at hownottto.com. So stupid.
And if you wanted to zoom through it, you could do this. And you could scrub it and see that everything falls mostly in the safe zone. So then lock, whatever, because you can drag this to be infinitely long as you go. But I would say that's done. And I don't know how long we're into this video, but the things that might really drive you nuts is if nothing is selected and you do this and you can't figure out why it's like, it changed a little bit, but just obviously something's messed up. It's because you changed your view, right? You're shrinking the actual view, not a clip in it. In order to deal with that, you click that and you click fit. And so then you go in here and you actually select the thing you were trying to work on, which would probably be that clip. And you would, I I guess you could expand the text through this method. I don't know why I didn't know that. Anyways, that is done. And that is the final thing is 39 seconds, right about there. And very watchable. And let's go see what I did from the beginning. So the boss is going to have another thing, and we're going to, how strong is one strand?
How strong is one strand of this core? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 strands in this core. And if we take just one, how about we just take one of these strands and tie it in a figure 8? Let's see how strong this is.
You can see there's differences. Not much.
I think that's good.
So this rope gets 14
I like how it has the pounds. That is another way of skinning that cat.
kilonewtons, which I'm getting 4 kilonewtons when I test the sheath and about 10 when I just do the core.
I like how ours explains that the 11 core strands give us 10, just because I think that's a little bit more information.
So it makes sense if there's 11 strands that I'm getting about 1 kilonewton per strand. Free cores come with every sheath you buy at hownottto.com.
That is a simpler ending, but you can see that they both work. There is a gray zone in which you can work in, as long as you're following the common principles of not being too wordy, being helpful, keeping it tight.
So stupid.
So very similar, but they ended up different. And then you'd be able to watch that, and then you'd be coming back over to here, and your footage, you would be answering how long that took you. It looks like I'm 53 minutes into this, so maybe 45 minutes. So what's the difference between yours and mine is that's something I want you to explain, and do your best to explain that. Now, something we should have read at the beginning is the description. The description's already written for you in these cases. It's important to understand what you're going to watch before you watch it. How strong is a single core strand of dynamic rope? This rope breaks at 14 kilonewtons and the sheath holds about 4, and the core is responsible for about 10. It had 11 strands and we got 1.17 kilonewtons, which is pretty good. If you read that before you edited, you would understand what the North Star is, because this next one is, it's now, if you edited that alongside of me, then you will have less difficult time editing the second one. But then once you do the second one by yourself without watching me do it, then this one should get twice as fast. And then this one should get just a little bit faster, a little bit faster. But you can see that you have all day to work on these. And what we did together, if you edited yourself, was be 45 minutes, but that's because I'm explaining it. It can be easily done in 15. So your goal is only about 30 minutes. And that is to give you time because you don't know the keystrokes or because you haven't edited literally 1,000 of these like I have. But how much stronger can it be? This is the last one you do. The goal is to hit 30 minutes. And you are graded on a curve if you've never seen a MacBook Pro laptop in your life. But we definitely are looking for improvement through each one. So you're going to save each one. You're going to write down how long each one took you. And then you're going to have the boss basically show you these. And you can watch them as you go. So you have like this feedback loop, which I think is very important. It is our goal to have more of the store team members actually help with writing the scripts or doing the research of the nerdy stuff before we can even make content or actually putting together the spreadsheets of the data, because they're all things that go on the website anyways, and then we can turn that into helpful content. And so part of this is going to be where more team members will be editing. And so I think this is a great second day interview if you were going to be working at How Not To. And if you're not working here, I hope this video helped you. Use Premiere if you've never used it before. Thanks for watching.